Imagine a cluster of islands, stark and windswept, rising from the vast expanse of the Atlantic Ocean. These are the Flannan Isles, a desolate archipelago situated 20 miles west of the Outer Hebrides, Scotland. Swept by fierce storms and shrouded in sea mist, the Flannan Isles have long been known as a treacherous place. Yet it was upon this unforgiving rock that a beacon of hope was erected, a lighthouse, its light a symbol of safety and guidance for mariners navigating the treacherous waters. The ceaseless pounding of the waves, the cries of seabirds and the salt-laden wind created an atmosphere that was both awe-inspiring and unsettling. The Eilean Mor Lighthouse, completed in 1899, stood as a testament to human ingenuity and determination. Perched atop the highest point of the island, it towered over the crashing waves, its light visible for 20 miles. The construction of the lighthouse was a feat of engineering. Every piece of material had to be shipped from the mainland and hauled up the treacherous cliffs. The work was arduous and dangerous, a constant battle against the elements. The lighthouse keepers lived in isolation, cut off from the outside world for weeks at a time. Their only companions were the crashing waves, the cries of the gulls, and the ever-present wind. Inside the tower, a kerosene lamp burned brightly behind the massive lens. The keepers meticulously maintained the light, their lives governed by a strict routine. Every few hours they would wind the heavy mechanism that rotated the lens. Life on Eilean Mor was one of isolation, routine, and the constant presence of danger. The life of a lighthouse keeper was one of solitude and sacrifice. These men were a hardy breed, accustomed to the dangers of the sea and life on a remote island. They worked in shifts, maintaining the lighthouse and their small living quarters. Their only contact with the outside world was the occasional supply ship or messages sent via semaphore or carrier pigeon. Despite the hardships, they found solace in their shared purpose. They were the guardians of the light, responsible for the safety of countless sailors. They approached their work with a quiet dedication that bordered on reverence. They were a brotherhood, bound by their shared isolation and vigilance. In their rare moments of leisure, they read, wrote letters and played cards. They shared stories of their lives, families and dreams. Ordinary men living extraordinary lives, united by their shared responsibility. But in December 1900, the routine silence of Eilean Mor was shattered, and the lives of 3 keepers were forever shrouded in mystery. December 1900 dawned like any other on Eilean Mor. The wind howled, the waves crashed against the cliffs, and the lighthouse stood firm against the elements. The 3 keepers, Thomas Marshall, James Duckett and Donald MacArthur, went about their duties, their thoughts perhaps drifting towards Christmas and the families they would soon rejoin on the mainland. They had no way of knowing that they were living their last days, that soon their names would be etched into the annals of maritime mystery. The last entry in the lighthouse log was made on December 15th. It spoke of strong winds and rough seas, but there was no hint of trouble, no indication that anything was amiss. Little did the keepers know that a storm was brewing, a storm far more powerful and mysterious than any they had weathered before. A storm that would claim their lives and leave behind a mystery that would captivate the world for over a century. The lighthouse stood sentinel, its beam cutting through the darkness, a beacon of hope in the face of the approaching storm. Life on the mainland continued at its usual pace, oblivious to the drama unfolding on the remote Flannan Isles. Days turned into nights, the rhythmic sweep of the Eilean Mor light a comforting constant for those on shore. The lighthouse tender, a ship responsible for supplying and rotating the lighthouse keepers, was scheduled to make its routine journey to Eilean Mor on December 20th, 1900. The weather, however, had other plans. A fierce storm, a maelstrom of wind and waves, descended upon the Hebrides, lashing the coastline with fury. The seas around the Flannan Isles were particularly treacherous, the storm whipping the water into a frenzy. The tender, unable to approach the island safely, was forced to delay its journey. On the mainland, this was seen as a minor inconvenience, a fact of life dictated by the unpredictable nature of the sea. No one suspected that anything was amiss on Eilean Mor. After all, the lighthouse keepers were a hardy and resourceful bunch, used to the challenges of their isolated existence. As the days passed and the storm showed no signs of abating, a sense of unease began to creep in. The lighthouse keepers were typically meticulous about sending their signals, acknowledging the tender's presence. This time there was only silence. The rhythmic flashes of light, a beacon of reassurance for countless ships, continued uninterrupted. But the lack of any personal communication from the keepers was starting to raise concerns. The longer the silence stretched, the heavier it weighed on the minds of those who knew about the Flannan Isles. The storm, though fierce, was not unprecedented. The keepers had weathered many such gales before. Why, then, had they not acknowledged the tender's presence? The families of the three keepers, accustomed to the isolation and inherent dangers of their loved ones' profession, found their worries mounting. Whispers of the Flannan Isles' eerie reputation resurfaced, tales of phantom ships and malevolent spirits recounted in hushed tones. The islands had always held an air of mystery, a sense of foreboding that clung to them like the ever-present sea mist. Now, with the lighthouse keeper's silence amplifying the unease, the islands seemed to exude a palpable sense of dread. Days turned into a week, the storm finally relenting its grip on the Hebrides. The sea, though still rough, was navigable. The lighthouse tender, its crew now acutely aware of the unusual silence emanating from Eilean Mor, finally set sail for the island on December 26th. As the ship slowly navigated the choppy waters towards the island, a sense of foreboding hung heavy in the air. The crew, their faces etched with concern, scanned the rocky cliffs, their eyes searching for any sign of life, any indication of what fate had befallen the keepers of the light. The relief vessel, the Hesperus, cut through the choppy waters towards Eilean Mor. Aboard, Captain Jim Harvey, a seasoned mariner with years of experience navigating the treacherous waters around the Hebrides, shared the growing unease of his crew. The Flannan Isles had a reputation, whispered stories of sudden storms and rogue waves that could swallow a man whole. But Harvey, a practical man, pushed these thoughts aside. His focus was on the task at hand, delivering supplies and a fresh crew to the lighthouse. As the Hesperus drew closer to the island, the crew strained their eyes, searching for any sign of the keepers. The landing stage, usually bustling with activity as the keepers welcomed the arrival of the tender, stood eerily deserted. No flag fluttered in the breeze, no smoke rose from the chimney of the keepers' quarters. An unsettling silence hung in the air, broken only by the relentless crashing of waves against the base of the cliffs. A chill, colder than the December air, settled over the men aboard the Hesperus. Captain Harvey ordered a blast from the ship's horn, a long, mournful sound that echoed across the water, bouncing off the cliffs of Eilean Mor. Silence. Another blast. Even longer this time, but still there was no response from the island. The crew exchanged worried glances. Something was very wrong. The keepers, no matter how fierce the storm, would never fail to welcome the relief vessel. With growing trepidation, Captain Harvey maneuvered the Hesperus closer to the landing stage. He dispatched a small landing party led by Joseph Moore, a young man on his first posting to the Flannan Isles. As Moore and his men made their way onto the slippery rocks, the silence was unnerving. The only sound was the screeching cries of seabirds circling overhead. Moore reached the iron gate leading to the lighthouse, his heart pounding. The gate was firmly bolted shut. A sense of dread washed over Moore. He called out, "Ahoy, the lighthouse! Relief vessel Hesperus arriving!" His words were swallowed by the wind, unanswered. Moore unlatched the gate and the men began their ascent. The climb was treacherous, the wind whipping at their coats. As they rounded a bend, the lighthouse came into view. Its majestic tower stood tall, casting its beam across the turbulent sea. The grounds were in disarray, equipment scattered, and the door ajar. It was a scene of chaos that sent chills down the spines of the relief party. The mystery of the vanished lighthouse keepers was about to unfold. Joseph Moore and his men reached the Eileen Moore Lighthouse entrance. The iron-wrought door stood slightly open, beckoning them into the unknown. The howling wind created an eerie, mournful sound. The silence was deafening, contrasting the usual activity. Moore pushed the door open and stepped inside. The air was thick with kerosene and something unsettling. The flickering lantern cast long shadows. Tools lay scattered, slick with moisture. The logbook lay open, its pages ruffled by the wind. The clock had stopped at a little past 1 o'clock. Time had stood still inside the Eileen Moore Lighthouse. With a growing sense of dread, Moore and his men descended the spiral staircase that led to the living quarters below. Each step creaked ominously, their footsteps echoing in the unnerving silence of the lighthouse. The door to the keeper's quarters stood ajar, revealing a scene frozen in time. The table was set for a meal, plates laid out, cutlery neatly arranged, but the chairs were empty, the food untouched. A half-finished game of dominoes lay on the table, the pieces scattered as if abandoned in haste. One of the chairs lay overturned on the floor, casting a long, distorted shadow in the flickering lamplight. Personal belongings, a pipe resting on a worn book, a woolen scarf draped over the back of a chair, hinted at the lives that had been lived within these stone walls, lives that now seemed to have vanished into thin air. The beds in the adjacent room were neatly made, but the trunks that stood at the foot of each bed were open, some of their contents strewn about the floor. It was as if the keepers had been preparing for something, packing their belongings, when they were interrupted. But what could have been so urgent, so unexpected, that it would cause them to abandon their duties and leave the lighthouse unattended? The questions hung heavy in the air, unanswered and unsettling. Moore, his brow furrowed, lifted the logbook from the table. The last few entries, made by Thomas Marshall, the principal keeper, were unusual, even disturbing. The final entry, dated December 15th, simply read, "Storm ended, sea calm. God is over all." The words sent a shiver down Moore's spine. Where were the keepers? The lighthouse now seemed to exude an aura of mystery and dread. With a heavy heart, Moore rejoined his men outside. They fanned out, searching for any sign of their missing comrades. They called out the keepers' names, their voices swallowed by the wind. Hours later, exhausted and no closer to answers, they returned to the lighthouse. As darkness enveloped Eileen Moore, Moore inspected the landing stage. The iron railings were twisted, the wooden planks ripped apart. A crate, smashed open, lay scattered across the rocks. Inside, a life jacket, its straps torn and frayed, hinted at a struggle. A cold dread gripped Moore's heart. The Eileen Moore Lighthouse stood as a sentinel against the fury of the North Atlantic. Could a storm of unprecedented magnitude hold the key to their disappearance? Meteorologists pointed to a rare weather phenomenon known as a microburst. These violent downdrafts can generate hurricane-force winds. Had a microburst struck Eileen Moore, sweeping the keepers away? The North Atlantic is known for breeding rogue waves, monstrous walls of water. Could a rogue wave hold the answer to the mystery of Eileen Moore? The damage to the landing stage pointed to a force far greater than usual waves. Had a rogue wave engulfed the lighthouse and its keepers? The life jacket hinted at a desperate struggle against an overwhelming force. The isolation of Eileen Moore could test even the strongest minds. Could a tragic accident or a slip have led to the keeper's demise? The cliffs were treacherous, particularly during stormy weather. Another theory suggested that isolation had driven one of the keepers to madness. Could he have turned on his fellow keepers, leading to a violent confrontation? The Flannan Isles had long been associated with the supernatural. Local folklore spoke of sirens, phantom ships, and malevolent spirits. Could the disappearance be attributed to ancient myths and legends? Some whispered of the Blue Men of Minch, mythical creatures inhabiting the waters. Had the keepers fallen victim to a centuries-old curse? The disappearance of the Eileen Moore lighthouse keepers continues to captivate and intrigue. Despite countless investigations, the mystery remains unsolved. Was it a meteorological marvel, a freak wave, a tragic accident, or something more sinister? The sea remains tight-lipped, the wind whispering tales only the ghosts of Eileen Moore know. The enduring mystery serves as a reminder of the power of nature and the limits of our understanding. The early 20th century was a time of rising tensions in Europe. Could the disappearance be linked to espionage and a silent enemy? Whispers of German submarines lurking in the waters were commonplace. Had the keepers stumbled upon a clandestine operation and been silenced? The night sky has always sparked our imaginations. Could the disappearance be linked to UFOs, a close encounter of the most chilling kind? Reports of strange lights in the sky above the Flannan Isles predated the disappearance. Could the keepers have been abducted, their fate unknown? The UFO theory, though often met with skepticism, resonated with those who believed we are not alone. The Flannan Isles were a haven for bird life. Local legends spoke of monstrous birds with wingspans that dwarfed even the largest albatross. Could the disappearance be attributed to an encounter with a giant bird? The damage to the landing stage could be evidence of a struggle against a creature of immense size. The giant bird theory, though lacking concrete evidence, captured the imagination. Time is often perceived as linear, immutable. Could the disappearance be attributed to a temporal anomaly, a rip in the fabric of time? The concept of time slips has captivated the human imagination for centuries. Could the keepers have stumbled into a temporal anomaly, their existence erased from our reality? The human spirit, that intangible essence, is often believed to transcend death. Could the answers to the lighthouse keeper's disappearance lie in the whispers of the afterlife? Psychics and paranormal investigators flocked to the Flannan Isles, drawn by the unknown. Seances were held, Ouija boards consulted, and EVP recordings analyzed. Some claim to have received messages hinting at a sudden and terrifying event. The desolate beauty of the Flannan Isles lashed by wind and waves holds a secret whispered on the wind, echoing through time, a chilling reminder of the mysteries that lie just beyond the reach of human understanding. The disappearance of the Eilean Mor lighthouse keepers, a tale as captivating as it is tragic, continues to fascinate and haunt. Its grip on our collective imagination as strong today as it was over a century ago. The image of the abandoned lighthouse, its light still burning brightly despite the absence of its keepers, has become an enduring symbol of the unknown, a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the enduring power of the sea. The Flannan Isles, once a beacon of hope and safety for mariners navigating treacherous waters, have transformed into a place of pilgrimage for those seeking answers, for those drawn to the allure of the unexplained. The mystery of Eilean Mor transcends the boundaries of time and place. It speaks to a primal fear that lies deep within us all, a fear of the unknown, of the unseen forces that shape our lives and destiny. It is a fear that whispers on the wind, a chill that runs down our spines when we contemplate the vastness of the universe and our own small place within it. The mystery of the Flannan Isles lighthouse keepers, with its tantalizing blend of real-life drama and unsolved intrigue, has served as fertile ground for artists, writers, and filmmakers seeking to explore the darker side of human experience. The tale, with its themes of isolation, madness, and the relentless power of nature, has been retold and reimagined countless times, each iteration adding new layers of speculation and suspense. From the chilling poetry of William Butler Yeats to the atmospheric prose of modern-day thriller writers, the story of Eilean Mor has found its way into countless works of literature, each author offering their own interpretation of the events that unfolded on that fateful December night. Filmmakers, drawn to the cinematic potential of the desolate island setting and the inherent drama of the story, have brought the legend to life on the big screen, using the power of visual storytelling to explore the psychological impact of isolation and the terrifying possibilities that lurk just beyond the realm of human understanding. The enduring fascination with the Flannan Isles mystery extends beyond the traditional realms of art and entertainment. The case has been featured in documentaries, podcasts, and countless online forums, each platform offering its own unique perspective on the evidence, the theories, and the enduring allure of the unsolved. The story has become a cultural touchstone, a shared mystery that continues to spark debate and fuel our collective imagination. The human mind craves order, seeking patterns and explanations for the seemingly random events that shape our lives. Unsolved mysteries, like the disappearance of the Eilean Mor lighthouse keepers, disrupt this innate desire for order, leaving us grappling with unanswered questions, our imaginations running wild with possibilities. This inherent desire to make sense of the senseless, to find order in chaos, lies at the heart of our fascination with unsolved mysteries. Unsolved mysteries challenge our perceptions of reality, reminding us that there are limits to our understanding of the world and the forces that govern it. They force us to confront the unknown, to acknowledge that there are things in this universe that may forever remain beyond our comprehension. This confrontation with the limits of our knowledge can be both unsettling and exhilarating, pushing us to question our assumptions and explore new ways of thinking. The enduring fascination with unsolved mysteries also speaks to our innate desire for justice, for closure. We yearn to know the fates of those who have vanished, to bring peace to their loved ones, to ensure that their stories are not forgotten. This desire for resolution, for a sense of completion, fuels our endless fascination with unsolved cases, driving us to seek answers, to connect the dots, and to find meaning in the face of tragedy and uncertainty. The Eileen Moore Lighthouse, its beam still sweeping across the waves, stands as a timeless beacon, a reminder of the enduring power of mystery and the human need to make sense of the unexplained. Though the fate of its vanished keepers may forever remain shrouded in speculation, the story of their disappearance continues to teach us valuable lessons about ourselves, about our relationship with the natural world, and about the enduring allure of the unknown. The mystery of Eileen Moore serves as a powerful reminder of the fragility of life and the unpredictable nature of the world we inhabit. It teaches us to respect the power of the sea, to acknowledge the limits of human control, and to appreciate the precarious balance between order and chaos that governs our existence. The story of the vanished lighthouse keepers encourages us to embrace curiosity, to question assumptions, and to remain open to the possibility that some mysteries may never be fully unraveled. The enduring legacy of Eileen Moore lies not in the answers we seek, but in the questions it continues to pose. It is a story that challenges us to confront the unknown, to embrace the mystery, and to find solace in the knowledge that some stories, like the relentless crashing of the waves against the shore, are destined to echo through time, their secrets forever entwined with the very fabric of the island itself. As we wrap up the tale of the Eileen Moore Lighthouse and its vanished keepers, we hope you found this journey into mystery as captivating as we did. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more intriguing tales from history, mysteries, and the unknown, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support allows us to continue exploring these fascinating stories and sharing them with you. Thank you for watching, and until next time, stay curious.